Welcome back to the Disturbed Chronicles. My name's Cams, and I'm glad you're here because today's video we're going to talk about Dr. James Craig, aka the Devil Dentist. Dr. James Craig was a 45-year-old Colorado dentist and a husband of 23 years and a father to 6 children. James Craig poisoned his wife of 23 years and stood by her bedside as she slipped away. James and Angela Craig seemed like the all-American couple. Married for over 2 decades, they had built a life together in Aurora, Colorado, where James ran a dental practice called Summerbrook Dental Group. Angela, who was 43, was a full-time mom known for being sweet and devoted. She was deeply involved in her Latter-day Saint Mormon faith, and they had 6 children together, and Angela was the heart of that family. To friends and neighbors, James was a successful professional and family man, but beneath the surface, there were many issues, including financial problems, infidelity, and secrets that James hoped to keep buried. So, of course, as a dentist, James has a lot of access to different types of medications. And on March 6, 2023, Angela started to feel very sick. She started experiencing dizziness and nausea with weakness of her body. And her symptoms were so intense that she ended up having to go to the hospital. But the doctors couldn't figure out what was actually causing Angela's symptoms. So Angela was discharged, and just a few days later, her symptoms continued. One day she would feel okay, and then the next day she would be dramatically sick all over again. Angela continued to visit the hospital for her condition, becoming more and more concerned as to why she was feeling so sick all of a sudden. Angela even messaged her husband James and said, "I had my protein shake. I feel drugged." James responded saying, "Given our history, I know that must be triggering, but just for the record, I didn't drug you."
"I had my protein shake. I feel drugged." Her husband texted back, "For the record, I didn't drug you."
What record was James talking about there? Well, reports say from Angela's sister, Toni, she reported that James actually poisoned Angela back in 2022, just a year prior. His reasoning was allegedly because his dental practice was spiraling towards bankruptcy, and James was considering taking his own life because of this. So he poisons his wife so she couldn't stop him from taking his own life. Sounds like a really interesting excuse there. But James was in fact adding poison to Angela's protein shakes in the morning. The couple had been experiencing some marital issues for a long time. James was very unfaithful, and reports say that he had an ongoing affair with an orthodontist from Texas. They had exchanged over 4,000 messages in just the short span of 18 days. It's even stated that James actually flew out this woman that he was having an affair with while his wife Angela was sick in the hospital from James poisoning her. I can only imagine how Angela was feeling at this point. And Angela was a good, faithful woman. She was devoted to her Mormon faith. She was a youth organization leader, a choir director, and she was also a family history consultant. And that shows why Angela was described as such a compassionate woman. Angela was described as a one-of-a-kind person. She was sarcastic and outgoing, but very generous. And everyone said Angela was always happy and that she was an amazing mother. Angela enjoyed biking, working out, woodworking, interior design, but her top priority was laughing and having fun with her 6 children. Angela and James married back in 1999, and the couple lived in Denver, Colorado for 15 years. Angela even helped assist her husband James in his dental practice. Angela was a devout mother and wife, but Angela would write in her journal, and back in 2009, she stated, "I feel so alone. Good times were a lie. He was a lie. James has been having an affair for over 6 months, and I haven't figured out yet if I should leave or if I should push through. Angela did what she could to repair their troubled marriage, being the fact that they had been married for such a long time, but it seems that James has given up a long time ago. On March 16th, 2023, Angela visited the hospital for her third time within 10 days due to her symptoms. She was experiencing recurring headaches, dizziness, nausea, and weakness in her body. Angela was admitted to the hospital in Denver, but the doctors still couldn't figure out what was causing Angela's symptoms. Earlier in the day, on March 16th, James visits his wife Angela in the hospital, but he comes back in just about an hour to bring her some food. Angela was stable for several hours, but later that same evening on March 16th, she suffered a severe seizure, and this caused her vitals to drop dramatically. Angela was then transferred to the ICU, where she was placed on life support so the doctors could try and stabilize her. For several days, Angela remained in this position and she was unresponsive on life support. The doctors still could not identify what caused her rapid decline, and by March 17th, Angela remained in this same condition and she was declared brain dead. Angela was removed from life support, and I have no information if this was requested by James or family, but Angela was pronounced dead on March 18th, 2023. Her autopsy and toxicology reports showed Angela's cause of death was acute cyanide and tetrahydrozoline poisoning along with arsenic poisoning, which matched her hospital visits and her gradual worsening condition. Angela had high levels of cyanide and tetrahydrozoline in her system, which is commonly used in eye drops and nasal sprays, along with her minor arsenic poisoning as well. And now the police have become very suspicious of this situation, and James had a dental partner named Ryan, and he learned that this shipment of potassium cyanide had been delivered to their dental office and it had no legitimate dental use. Ryan was concerned, so he alerted a nurse at the hospital who then notified the police, triggering a formal investigation. Surveillance footage actually later showed James entering Angela's hospital room with a syringe in his hand. And this was around the same time that her condition took a downward turn. This was right before Angela had her massive seizure and was placed on life support. It is believed this is when James administered a fatal dose of cyanide into Angela's IV line.
A couple of key moments from that are when the footage showed the defendant with a syringe, first at home and then at the hospital, which he later admitted was the syringe, the implement that ended her life.
The police began to collect evidence after the discovery of this footage and the report from James's dental partner, Ryan. So the police searched through James's search history and found some very disturbing things. James had made Google and YouTube searches for phrases like undetectable poisons and how many grams of pure arsenic would kill a human, and how to make poison, and what medicines do not show up in autopsy reports.
And his computer show phrases like, how many grams of pure arsenic will kill a human? And top 5 undetectable poisons that show no signs of foul play. Police say on March 4th, a package with arsenic was delivered to the Craig's home. 2 days later, Angela Craig was in the hospital with dizziness and difficulty focusing her eyes, symptoms consistent with arsenic poisoning, say investigators.
And all of this was traced to a Gmail account used on a computer in one of James's dental exam rooms. Investigators confirmed he had ordered arsenic and potassium cyanide. The cyanide package actually was delivered on March 13th, and employees were instructed not to open this package. But when another employee did happen to open it, she recognized the contents and she alerted her colleagues. And after Angela's death, James allegedly told his sister he did not want an autopsy for his wife Angela. He said, if they couldn't figure out what was going on when she was alive, I wouldn't want them to pick and poke at her body now that she's dead. James did not want them to discover all of the poison that was inside of Angela's system. But the police moved quickly and they arrested James on March 19th at his dental office, which was just a day after his wife Angela was pronounced dead. He was immediately taken into custody and questioned by the police about Angela's death and the circumstances surrounding her illness and her hospitalizations. Usually the partner of the deceased victim will always be the first suspect because they're closest with the victim. They likely might know what happened or have some information to help with the case. The police had a lot of evidence and all the incriminating search history from James's computer, his orders for the poison, and the hospital footage that they found.
The evidence in this case included 10,000 pages of documents, 2 terabytes of data, and more than 300 witnesses. It overwhelmingly pointed to James Craig's guilt.
Over the next few days, the police turned this medical mystery into a murder investigation. And on March 23rd, James was formally charged with first-degree murder. So it only took about 5 days after Angela's death to formally charge her husband James with her murder. On June 28, 2023, James's bond was set to $10 million, and this was due to the severity of his crimes. During the following months of July through August, the police continued to gather all of the evidence of multiple shipments of eye drops ordered by James and the security footage of James while Angela was admitted at the hospital. On October 23rd, James has a hearing and he enters his first non-guilty plea. And at that time, the trial was scheduled to begin between April and May of 2024. James makes a statement saying that Angela was suicidal. The police discovered a timeline on James's phone depicting the version of events in an attempt to shift the responsibility to his wife Angela. This included claims that Angela wanted to die and that James was preparing the poison for Angela, but he did not actually administer it to her.
I knew that her love for life would never be trumped by someone else. She would never leave her children. So as soon as that was presented to me, there was no question.
James is still desperately trying to cover himself and blame his wife. He even tried to make a fake video of Angela taking her own life. He discussed using advanced video technology to create footage showing Angela committing suicide in a way that would explain the poison found in her system. This video was meant to be used as evidence to convince investigators, prosecutors, and ultimately a jury that Angela's death was self-inflicted. James even tried to get his own daughter to help with the video. He wanted her to produce and distribute this video, and allegedly James called his daughter and asked her to bail out another inmate, whom James said was a cousin of theirs. James's daughter said she drove to the jail to bail out Jonathan, and upon release, he gave her a bundle of handwritten documents taped together. She later realized that the written documents were the handwriting of her father, James. Inside the papers were instructions allegedly from James asking her to create a deepfake video of her mother, Angela, claiming she had asked her husband, James, to get the poisons, building a false narrative of suicide for Angela.
Another inmate out. He told her the inmate was a cousin of hers. She didn't know this person, but she has a big family, and so she said it was believable. She bailed this man out, and he handed her a letter from her father. It asked her to buy a burner laptop and create a deep fake video that would show her now dead mother saying that she got James Craig to order these poisons and that she took them herself.
James tried very hard to manipulate this case, including manipulating the hospital staff, investigators, and even his own family. And these efforts that James made were uncovered through emails from the jail communications, which led to additional charges for James. Solicitation to commit perjury, solicitation to tamper with evidence, and basically James had a disturbing plan to create a fake video showing his wife Angela taking her own life using deepfake technology. He aimed to produce fabricated footage that would convince investigators and a jury that his wife Angela's death was self-inflicted. Shockingly, he sought his own daughter's help in this deceitful scheme, revealing not only his intent to murder but also manipulate and corrupt the justice system. These actions brought him more charges, showing the character of a man willing to go to any lengths to escape accountability. Because of James doing all this while being in jail, it pushed the trial back. He had new charges as well, and James ended up hiring a new attorney for the trial, and the new counsel needed time to review this case, and ultimately this pushed the trial back because of it. The prosecution needed more time to prepare as well following the new charges. Both the prosecution and the defense needed time to build their cases completely all over again. So the original trial date from April 2024 was pushed back to July of 2025. So a year later would be when the trial would start. But it doesn't just stop there. It gets even worse for James. Detective Bobby Olson with the Aurora Police Department was the lead investigator on Angela's poisoning death. She played a big role in gathering digital evidence, forensic testing, and interviewing witnesses that helped build this case against James. While being held in jail awaiting trial, James confronted an inmate named Nathan Harris. James allegedly offered Nathan Harris $20,000 to murder Detective Bobby Olson. He gave Nathan specific information about the detective and expressed his hatred, referring to her as dirty and blaming her for his legal troubles. He's still not taking any accountability for his actions and still desperately trying to stop this investigation, eliminate the key witness for the prosecution, and avoid conviction. But instead of going along with this plan, Nathan Harris reported this to the jail staff and investigators. So in late November of 2024, prosecutors filed new charges against James Craig, including criminal solicitation to commit first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and solicitation to tamper with a witness. These charges were in addition to his existing first-degree murder charge for his wife Angela. These new allegations caused a major delay in the case yet again. His defense attorney, Harvey Steinberg, actually withdraws, and this was due to ethical concerns. And this was actually on the same day that the jury was supposed to be selected for this trial. In December of 2024, a court hearing appointed Lisa Moses and Robert Working as Craig's new defense attorneys. In February of 2025, James pleaded not guilty to all the new charges for the murder, to hire events, and the deep fake video about Angela. But yet again, another major change in this trial. One of the defense attorneys, Robert Workings, was arrested on felony arson charges just before the trial began, like a month before the trial starts. He officially withdrew from this case, and Ashley Whitham joined the legal team alongside Lisa Moses. On July 15th, the opening statement started, and after all this, the trial finally begins. They had so much evidence against James at this point, including the toxicology reports, the surveillance footage, and James's search history, along with the orders placed by James for the poison found in Angela's body. James's daughter and his son even testified against him under the allegations that James tried to loop his daughter into the plan on setting up their mother, Angela. The former inmate Nathan Harris also testified against James and stated he was offered $20,000 to kill the main detective on the case, Bobby Olson. His mistress and family members also testified against James, revealing manipulation, emotional drama, and motive. And after the jury deliberated for 9 hours, they came back with a verdict. James was found guilty on all 6 charges, and on July 30th, James Craig was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The verdict form, count 1, murder in the first degree. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of murder in the first degree. As to count 1, murder in the first degree, the class 1 felony, court hereby sentences Dr. Craig to life without the possibility of parole.
James is now 47 years old and will spend the rest of his life in prison. James was tried under the Colorado state law, and they do not have the death penalty as an option, no matter the severity of the crime. One of James's children delivered a powerful victim impact statement, calling James the villain in their book.
I was supposed to be able to hug my mom when he died. And instead I was left to take him home and figure out what to do with him since my mom was gone.
How her father destroyed the lives of his family.
I was supposed to be able to trust my dad. He was supposed to be my hero, and instead he'll forever be the villain in my book.
This is such a tragic story. James never took any accountability and did everything in his power to try and victimize himself. I'm glad that the jury found him guilty and that he will spend the rest of his life in prison. James betrayed his wife of 23 years and his entire family that he helped build, and for 10 days, James slowly killed his wife and watched while she suffered, confused, and sick.
Dr. Craig unleashed a path of destruction as wide as a tornado and just as devastating.
Angela unfortunately never saw the danger hiding behind her husband's smile. While justice did catch up with James, he has left scars on all 6 of his children and Angela's entire family.
Well, this has been an incredibly difficult time for our family. We take comfort in the integrity and commitment shown by everyone who stood with us in pursuit of justice for Angela and her children. We thank you all so much for your support. And Angela, we miss you and we love you forever.
Statistically, it's shown that almost half of women victims were killed by an intimate partner, 46% of women to be exact. In 2018, 92% of female homicide victims were killed by men that they knew, and 63% were killed by current husbands, boyfriends, or ex-husbands. IPV, also known as intimate partner violence, shows physical, sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse. Tragically, intimate partner homicide is often the patterns of repeated episodes of gender-based violence that could have been prevented through timely and effective interventions. Meaning that if you are experiencing anything like controlling behaviors, drug and alcohol abuse from an intimate partner, physical abuse, verbal abuse like threats on one's life, or anything similar to those. If any of you women are experiencing anything similar to this, please be aware, because these kinds of issues are real and they do happen very, very often to women. So that's going to do it for today's video, and I thank you guys so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my future content. I post videos every Sunday, and hopefully I'll see you on the next disturbing video.